It's Ron Reader digs the universe. I'm Ron Reader, and this is Ron Reader Digs the Universe. And tonight, MAGA Skynyrd. A brief timeline of events. 1964, LBJ signs the Civil Rights Act. 1965, LBJ signs the Voting Rights Act. These two pieces of legislation ended Jim Crow in the South. 1968, I am born in Houston, Texas. Every single adult in this city at that point had lived their entire lives under Jim Crow segregation laws, colored drinking fountains, back of the bus, white supremacy. All these things were normal. Racial justice was brand spanking new and necessarily weird. Not everybody was on board with it just yet. 1970, singer Neil Young releases the song Southern Man, viciously condemning the South's still very hateful attitudes toward black people. 1972, Young doubles down on the attack with his song Alabama. And in 1974, Southern rock band Lynyrd Skynyrd just couldn't take it anymore and released their anthem Sweet Home Alabama as a defense of their beloved former Confederacy. Full disclosure, like many Americans, I've always loved that song. For that matter, I've always loved the Southern rock genre. 38 Special, ZZ Top, and especially the Allman Brothers. And Skynyrd's Sweet Home Alabama is an excellent example of that kind of music. Ostensibly a simple ode to the South, you know, Southern pride or Southern heritage or whatever they say about Confederate flags down there, the song's got some fairly problematic lyrics. I mean, not everything. The first verse is about how awesome it is to return to Alabama, and the last verse is a shout out to an awesome Alabama studio band named the Swampers. So far, so good. It's the two interior verses that concern us here. One verse directly attacks Neil Young's criticism of the South, but without addressing the content of that criticism. You know, a Southern man don't need him around anyhow. It's just kind of, you know, fuck you, Neil Young. The next verse, depending on whose interpretation you're using, either compares segregationist Alabama Governor George Wallace to corrupt President Richard Nixon, thereby falsely equating perceived Southern sins with perceived Northern sins, or it just straight up embraces Wallace's racism as part of Southern heritage or whatever. It's hard to say. It's the exact meaning here is a bit ambiguous. It fascinates me, though, to realize recently that those two verses are essentially how modern white Southerners and MAGA more generally talk about racism today. Fuck you, combined with a bunch of unfathomable double talk, always concluding that liberals are somehow worse than racists. And I shouldn't be so surprised by this revelation. I've been hearing white Southerners talk this way about race my whole life. Their obfuscating reaction to the end of the world where they were unquestionably on top. Fuck you, and blah, 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 you're the real racist. It's like the entire white South got together in the early 70s and decided that hostile bullshit was the way to go, and Lynyrd Skynyrd was right there. Decades later, Neil Young wrote that he regretted his song Alabama, saying that his lyrics are accusatory and condescending and easily misconstrued, while at the same time praising the song Sweet Home Alabama. But, you know, I think Young got it right the first time. The white South was then and continues to be now intensely racist, we should rhetorically and continually blast the South for the role it continues to play in destroying this nation. Frankly, Neil Young's criticisms of the South aren't harsh enough. And Sweet Home Alabama is racist as shit. I'm Ron Reeder, and this has been Ron Reeder Digs the Universe. Join me, Ron Reeder, again next week for another episode of Ron Reeder Digs the Universe.